Hi, I'm Kristin Fixmer, and welcome to Washington Grown. We are in the Palouse. And did you know that more wheat is produced right here than anywhere else in the nation? In this episode, we're going to find out how our food gets from the fields in Washington to plates all around the world. We're on the move with Seattle Creole food truck Where Ya At, Matt?
It's flavorful, it's bold.
We'll use Washington ingredients to cook up a classic southern treat, beignets. Then we'll hit the streets of Seattle to see what people think of them.
So good at hers.
Then we're in the kitchen with our home chef, Kristin.
Today in the kitchen, we're making multigrain blender crepes, an easy, sweeter, savory meal that you can take with you on the go.
And we're following a crop of Washington wheat to see how it gets from the farm to the port to countries all over the world. All this and much more on Washington Grown.
Explosion of fragrance.
Safety first, that's my motto. Cheers.
Cheers!
Oh, her bicep's bigger than mine.
If you live in the Seattle area, then you may be asking, where you at, Matt? After a little digging, we were able to find this famous, one-of-a-kind food truck. I'm with Matt Lewis, and he is the owner of the Where Ya At, Matt food truck. Louisiana cuisine, right?
Absolutely.
What are people going to find here?
You find a little bit of everything. It's we consider it New Orleans style street food. So anything from po' boys to jambalaya to gumbo to shrimp and grits, and then of course the beignets, and those people go crazy over.
So why did you decide to open up a food truck?
Well, it was 4 years ago. I was looking for a change, and there was only probably 7 other food trucks that were doing something different. I just had this idea and the vision, and I had the passion and the drive to do it at the time, and here we are 4 years later.
What seems to be the favorite item that people like to order?
I think out of the sandwiches, we have a sandwich we call the Big Bowl Creole Pork.
Wow.
That was one that made cover of Seattle Magazine in 2011. It's a phenomenal sandwich. That, and then the classic po' boy that you would find in New Orleans would be the shrimp po' boy. Those two would be our top sellers. We also have the Peacemaker.
Yeah, tell me about that. It's like this big.
It's a big sandwich. It's not your everyday sandwich,
Okay.
but it's the one where you want to treat yourself. It's the fried oyster po' boy with a bacon, cheddar cheese, and a spicy bread and butter pickle. It's to die for.
So what kind of local ingredients do you use, and how important are the local ingredients to your food here?
We use as much local as we can, especially when it's in season. We use a lot of the local flowers. We use the local oysters. A lot of the produce comes locally. There's just a huge bounty of ingredients that we use locally that make our food that much better.
Later on in the show, we'll travel to the prep kitchen to learn the secret behind Matt's famous beignets. Washington's waterways, they're majestic, they water our crops, and they're also a vital part of transporting goods. In fact, the Columbia River is the 3rd largest grain export gateway in the world. I spoke with Kristin Fixmer, Executive Director of the Pacific Northwest Waterways Association, about the importance of Washington's rivers, lakes, and dams.
Our waterways are really the competitive advantage that our Washington state growers and producers are able to use, especially when they're trying to compete in very tough overseas markets. This is the top wheat export gateway in the country. We move more wheat out of the Columbia Snake River system than is leaving the United States any other place or any other way. So it is a very critical export point for those Washington state growers, for our potato farmers, our cherry farmers, and other tree fruits, peas, lentils, the list goes on of Washington grown agricultural products. They cannot do what they do. They can't get out to those export markets without the ports and waterways.
What's the role that Washington dams play with Washington agriculture?
The dams on the Columbia Snake River system are unique here in the U.S. in that they're multi-purpose. They produce hydropower. We get 70% of our electricity here in the Northwest from clean, renewable hydropower. That really sets us apart from other parts of the country. But then the dams also provide for commercial navigation. One typical 4-barge tow is moving the same amount of cargo as 538 trucks. Just picture all of those trucks on the highways. The dams are able to make irrigation possible. They really provide a lot of benefits.
What does the future look like for Washington waters?
When you think about waterways, you need to think about them in the same way that you think about highways and bridges and airports and other kinds of infrastructure. It's all aging. It needs reinvestment so that our future farmers, our future producers are able to still compete overseas.
To learn more about agriculture in Washington, visit our website at wagrown.com.
If you're looking to satisfy your sweet tooth, you can't go wrong with a beignet, a French pastry extremely popular in New Orleans. But thanks to Where You At, Matt, we're having them right here in Seattle. Donna, have you ever had one of these delicious beignets?
I have not.
Well, now's the perfect opportunity. Why don't you go ahead and try one of these and let me know what you think.
Okay.
Jump on in there. Look at that. Get a lot of that powdered sugar.
And I'm glad I'm wearing black today.
Me too.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Oh, these are fabulous.
Are those good?
Really good. Yeah.
It's like the best part of my day.
The best part of your day. Can you describe that for the viewer at home?
It's just soft and chewy and moist and warm.
It's really light.
Crunchy on the outside, gooey on the inside.
It just melts in your mouth.
An angel exploded with happiness in my mouth.
You can't get a better description of a beignet than that.
It's so good it hurts.
Would you get these again?
I would. I gotta watch how many times, but yeah, I would.
All right, so the people out here love your food and they love these beignets.
Oh yeah.
So I think we gotta see what everybody's talking about.
I think you
Absolutely.
should.
Let's get in on
Take
this.
one,
And you take 3.
and I take 3.
Is that good? Wow. Did you see that?
I don't blame her.
Those are good.
Coming up, Val is heading to the Palouse, where the worldwide journey of wheat begins at a farm.
We make cakes, we make donuts, we make dessert.
Ooh, this is my kind of field.
We're back at the Where Ya At Matt food truck with owner Matt Lewis, who's been cooking up Louisiana-style grub for the people of Seattle.
What is it do you think that people love about this food?
It's flavorful, it's bold. I think a lot of times you go to different places and it's like, oh, you know, it's great, they have oysters or they have this. But here, you know, we take all of those things, but we intentionally season them. When somebody gets that nice total package of flavors in their mouth at one time, they're like, wow, this is great.
And while the food is outrageously delicious, the thing I really can't stop thinking about are those beignets. So we traveled to Matt's prep kitchen to learn just how to make some of those sweet, puffy treats.
First step in the process is to bloom the yeast. So we have warm water here that's about the temperature of a nice warm bath, right around 120 degrees. Then we have our yeast and our sugar that we'll use. The sugar will give the yeast something to feed off of.
Okay. And how long does this have to?
This, you want to let it go until it starts to foam up a little bit. We'll set it aside when we start to build the other stuff, and I'll show you the process there. So we'll set that aside. The next step, we start with our eggs.
A very large bowl.
A very large bowl. Don't worry.
We're doing huge commercial amount
here. Correct.
We beat the eggs until fluffy, then add in buttermilk.
Now, why buttermilk? What is it about buttermilk?
I like the tang from it.
Okay.
I mean, you can use anything. A lot of people use whole milk, but we like the buttermilk. You know, it's sort of like a buttermilk biscuit or a buttermilk pancake. It gives it that extra layer of flavor.
Yeah.
We add in some melted butter.
You don't want it too hot, then it's going to cook your egg in here, and it's going to create a whole nother texture in your beignet that you don't
then
want
what would
there.
happen?
Yeah, it would. It wouldn't be
scrambled beignet.
Scrambled beignet. You'd have a lot of extra texture in there, put it that way.
We add our wet ingredients into the mixer.
And I'm sure you all have one of these bad boys at home.
Oh yeah. Replace your car, get one of these.
Exactly. Here, I'll take
And then you can see how much extra foam we're getting now. It goes pretty fast
it does.
on that. So that'll go straight in.
We turn on the mixer and begin to add in flour.
What do you want the dough to eventually look or feel like?
It's gonna be slightly moist, but it'll actually all be intact. Like it won't be sticking to the side of the bowl. So we have a little bit of salt here. You don't want to salt it too early because too much salt will kill your yeast.
Oh.
So you worked all that time to get it to bloom and then you kill it.
We add in chunks of shortening, continue to mix, then add in more flour.
You can see it's almost pulling away from the sides. It needs just a touch more flour. And when you make them at home, that's what you want. You want it to stay in a continuous ball without spreading back out against the sides, like everything picks up towards the center.
Once the dough is complete, we flour our work surface and remove the dough.
That's a lot of dough.
Yeah, and you can tell it's a good dough. Like you want to be able to push it and it springs back.
Yeah.
Like that.
We divide the dough in half.
And we're gonna roll this down to about 1/4 inch.
Wow.
So you want to roll from the center out like that.
All right.
And then once you
And
get
then
it
just keep going?
close to the edge of the table, then we will turn the other side. That's perfect. You've done this before. There you go. And now it's time to cut it. It depends on if you're left-handed or right-handed. I always start from the right side, and you can clean up your edge, or you just estimate, right? You want about a 2 inch by 3 inch.
Okay.
Just straight up. And you can see the pullback.
Sure.
That's
People at home
good
just
good
use
structure.
a
you can
pizza
use.
cutter, or?
If you don't have a pizza cutter, you can use a knife. You can use anything. And if you really are anal retentive about your lines, or you're kind of wobbly with it, you can actually use like a yardstick or something like that. Just anything that'll give you a straight edge that won't push too hard on the dough.
So you don't want to.
Yeah, the waggle.
Now it's my turn.
And then once you go all the way through, then you just flip it. There you go. Oh yeah, you're natural.
We continue to cut the dough to make 2 by 3 inch squares.
So then you just drop it into some oil and
Drop it into the hot oil, and you let the bottom get golden brown, then you flip it, and you get the other side golden brown, pull it out, drain the oil. A very healthy, I don't know if you call it, that's not actually healthy, but a healthy dose of powdered sugar.
just throw it on there.
Exactly, there's never enough.
Now, we already devoured quite a few beignets at the food truck, but that doesn't stop us from indulging in a few more.
And that wasn't a TV bite there either. You were going for it. I like it.
To find out where Matt's at, log on to our website at wagrown.com. We're on the road this episode following the journey Washington's wheat crop makes from field to port. Today, we're starting our journey in Ben Barstow's wheat field in the heart of the Palouse. Here's co-host Val Thomas Matson.
Ben, can you tell us where we are officially?
Officially, we're in Whitman County, Washington. We are on what we call the Turnbow Flat Farm. My wife's ancestors were all Turnbows, and 100 years ago, every 160 acres around here that you can see had a Turnbow family living on it.
Wow. So Ben, we came here today because we wanted to see you harvest wheat. We wanted to see it live and in action, but that's not happening because of Mother Nature. We've got these big storm clouds off in the distance here.
Looks like we're gonna get wet.
It looks like we might get a little wet. So how do you incorporate that into, not getting totally frustrated in being a farmer?
I guess the thing that helps is you know that you're in the same boat with every other farmer in the region.
Okay.
You're not any worse off than any of your neighbors. And we're all in this together.
Since Ben had some time on his hands, I asked him to explain the journey wheat makes from his field.
Once we get this stuff in the combine, it's unloaded into my little farm truck. I don't have a semi, but a lot of more farmers these days do. Anyway, it will go to a local elevator, and ours is right over there, just over the hill in the town of Palouse, about 5 miles away from here.
But the journey from here is overseas. Ben and his neighboring farmers are actually feeding the world. So what does that feel like, to know that your product's going to end up in Japan or
Singapore.
Sweden?
Yes, or who knows?
Right.
It's kind of a responsibility. I feel that not just that our wheat goes all over the world, but we want it to be the best product we can possibly make. And there's some pride in that too, not just because the best product earns me the most money, but we're proud of making a good product here. Well, us and God.
You mean you don't do this all on your own, huh?
Well, actually, if I was doing this all on my own, I'd be thrashing today, not waiting for it to dry out.
But tomorrow is another day, and in late August, all across Washington state, farmers will be harvesting their wheat. And the next step in the process is the grain elevator.
On the banks of the Columbia River in Pasco, I spoke with Arnie Berry, a 20-plus year veteran of the grain business, and he explains how the process works.
The growers are bringing their grain in from the field right now. It's harvest time. We're dumping it into the pits. It's going through the pit area, then it goes up through our scale hoppers, goes into our silos, and then when we get ready to ship out, then we pull out of our silos and then into our barge. It goes to an exporter either in Vancouver or Portland. And then from there, they're marketing that grain all around the world.
Arnie says the high protein content of this premium grain eventually becomes flatbread in Egypt, or maybe noodles in Japan, or even cakes or cookies right here at home. Our journey continues as Tomas takes the wheel of a grain barge. Then we're in the kitchen with Kristin to see her solution for a tasty on-the-go meal.
Whole grains are a rising nutritional megastar. And while most people are familiar with the term whole grains, not everyone knows exactly what it means. The U.S. defines whole grains as whole grains or foods made from them containing all the essential parts and naturally occurring nutrients of the entire grain seed in their original proportions. And if the grain has been processed, it must deliver the same rich balance of nutrients that are found in the original grain seed. So all the bran, germ, and endosperm must be present. At your local grocery store, many food labels have a golden whole grain stamp on the packaging. This allows for easy recognition of a whole grain product. To qualify for this stamp, a food must contain at least half a serving of whole grains. While this may not sound like much, most Americans don't meet their recommended 3 or more servings of whole grains per day. Besides being high in vitamins, minerals, and fiber, whole grains have been associated with a reduced risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, even cancer. Not sure how to integrate more whole grains into your diet? Try adding a cup of cooked wheat or barley to your favorite canned or homemade soup. Buy whole grain pasta or one that blends part whole wheat, part white. Use whole wheat flour to make a hearty bread at home, or try making risottos, pilafs, and other rice-like dishes with barley rather than rice. There's an endless array of possibilities when it comes to whole grains.
We've seen how wheat gets from the farm to the grain elevator and into a barge, but where does it go from there? Tomas is in Portland with the next step in getting wheat from the Tri-Cities to the port.
I'm here at the helm of the Clearwater tugboat, where I'm going to travel alongside a batch of Washington wheat as it makes its way down the Columbia River before it's sent all over the world. All right, guys, coming loose. Shaver Transportation Company is a 134-year-old family-owned tug and barge line that moves freight up and down the Columbia River system. Rob Rich, the Vice President of Marine Services at Shaver, explains how the barging process works.
The export elevators will order wheat from one of the 27 upriver grain elevators that load barges. So the export elevator will order one location at, say, the Dalles, order another barge for another location, such as Umatilla, order a barge for a location such as Windust on the lower Snake River, and the fourth barge could be ordered into Lewiston, Idaho. So the 4 barges take off. The first one is dropped at the Dalles, second one dropped at Umatilla, third and fourth on the way. So you get to your destination all the way at Lewiston, then they pick up that barge when it's loaded and work their way back down the river, picking up their barges at the various elevators they've loaded at. When those barges come down to the Portland Harbor, they are distributed to the export elevators that have loaded them. The grain elevator loads into the ship, and the ships take off to the Pacific Rim. You know, China, Korea, Japan, Thailand, Sri Lanka, Philippines are the final destination for the wheat from the Columbia River. We're going to head over to one of our spud barges, which is a term for a tie-off.
Okay.
And we're going to pick up an empty grain barge. These barges are 275 to 300 feet long. When you put a 4-barge tow together, they're 2 barges wide, 2 barges long, When you take a 90 or 100-foot tugboat like this, you're at about 650 feet overall. Barging is by far the most fuel efficient, the most economical, the most environmentally responsible and sustainable way of transporting. And you may ask, why are we not barging everywhere?
We
don't have rivers everywhere.
Yeah, obviously, waterways.
So wherever there is access to the river for farmers to bring their wheat, then you have barging.
As we make our way to pick up a barge, Captain Brad lets me take over.
So right now you're idling ahead. Okay. These are your throttles and engines.
Okay.
You can shift it hard to port.
Okay. Hold on, guys. Hard to port.
Pull hard to starboard there. The other way. The boat's going to start swinging around.
You catch me out on the high seas before you know it. But when we make our way back to port, I figure I should let the pros handle it.
Well, Tomas, we're going to head on down to the galley.
All right, look at this. This is nice. I mean, I've seen apartments smaller than this. This is great. Then, whoa, we check out the engine room and the crew quarters. Is this comfy?
There's room for you.
It's got to make you feel pretty proud to think that you're in this hub of Washington food and exports being sent all over the world.
Washington's largest export is agricultural products, and it is an amazing opportunity to be involved in it.
Well, Rob, thank you so much for showing me around a tugboat. Give me a chance to drive a tugboat.
Tomas, you did great.
I appreciate it very much.
Yes, thank you very much.
We have some very simple ingredients here. So what are we gonna make? It seems like it's gonna be pretty easy.
It is, and it's gonna be fabulous.
And fast?
Yes, we're making a multigrain crepe in our blender.
Awesome.
And it's a fast thing I do for my kids because we take them with us on the go.
Yeah.
If we're going on a picnic, they're great for picnics, or I pack them in their lunches sometimes. So we're gonna make a crepe sandwich.
Ooh, I like that.
They're fun.
I honestly have never made crepes before. I have eaten them and I love them.
I'm glad I get to be here.
I know,
with you.
so this is really exciting. And so we have all sorts of just very good, clean, fresh ingredients. We've got oatmeal or oats.
Yes, we have oats, and we're gonna start with our oats.
Okay.
We blend our oats to make some oat flour.
That was easy.
Now we're ready for the rest.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients here.
Okay.
I will crack in a couple eggs. If you want to add some salt and sugar,
okay,
a little bit of butter.
And so you were saying that your kid, you like to do the crepes just for on the go.
Yeah,
Instead
we eat them. Sometimes we take our food into the fair when we go to the fair,
Yeah.
or when we go on a family picnic
Sure.
or somewhere like that. And so we'll just make these ahead of time and take them with us.
That's a great idea.
They're easy to pack.
Yeah.
After adding our 2 eggs, we throw in some milk, butter, water, and some Washington flour.
And then a little bit of sugar and salt.
Okay.
And
I bet
we'll
your
blend it
kids,
up
what do
again.
your kids love to put on the crepes?
Nutella.
Nutella.
That's the ultimate favorite.
Very good.
Nutella and banana.
Nice. That's a classic. And it doesn't have to be
Birthday.
sweet though. You don't have to do sweet.
No,
crepes.
that's why we're doing our lunch crepe today. Now we're done.
That was easy.
Yeah. Now we're just gonna let it sit in the fridge for an hour.
Okay.
The oats that we ground up, they help absorb a lot of the liquid that's in it right now. So you couldn't even make a crepe right now if you wanted to.
No.
You have to let it sit and
Let
wait.
it sit for an hour in the fridge.
Put it in the fridge.
Okay. Now I've never cooked crepes, so I'm very excited about this.
I should warn you about the first crepe curse.
Oh, the first crepe curse.
Because it's just kind of a general rule that the first crepe of your batch doesn't work out.
You just forfeit it to the crepe gods someplace.
You do, and then you keep trying.
And then you keep trying.
For some reason, I don't know.
I like that.
We joke about it at our home. The first crepe curse.
one never works out. Okay, well.
So we're gonna spray our pan. And then this is where...
And how much of a cup is this?
This is a quarter of a cup.
Of a cup, that's
But
all
it's-
you need.
It's gonna vary depending on the size of your pan. If you have a bigger pan, you're gonna want more.
Okay.
So you're gonna, I should let you.
No, you do the first one. And
Oh yay, I get the curse.
You get the curse.
So I'm gonna drop it and swirl my wrist as fast as I can.
Oh my gosh.
Now it's my turn to try out my crepe making skills.
Sometimes there's a second crepe curse.
I'm thinking that today's the day.
Swirl it, swirl it.
I am trying. It's gonna be a lopsided crepe. Oh no! It looks like a brain or something. What is
looks like a jellyfish to me.
It is.
Look.
There, see? It's a little overdone.
A little bit of cheese. No one's gonna know.
Actually gonna cook it. All right, so we have our crepes with our cheese. Mine actually looks a little bit like a jellyfish. It's still gonna taste good.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, so we have, what are the fixings that we have here?
Today we have turkey and some sprouts and spinach and a dressing. So it's really pretty simple. You don't want to stuff it full because you can feel they're light and delicate,
Right,
so
yeah.
they don't want to hold
Fall
too
apart.
much.
We fill our crepes, drizzle on some Caesar dressing, and fold them up.
In half.
There.
And in quarters.
Oh,
one more.
One more.
Look at that.
Oh, I thought I was done. Oh, that's easy.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, look at that.
They make
Look at
it-
how pretty that is.
I pack them in my kids' lunches.
Well, yeah,
like
it's
this.
easier to hold that way,
And
right?
nothing falls out the bottom.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's all good.
Cheers. Cheers.
Ding.
I love it. Even though mine doesn't look perfect, it still tastes
It
really
still
good.
tastes great. Nice fresh thing to take with you wherever
It
you're going.
is. I love it.
Best of all, when you make the crepes, you can make all of them and then store them with wax paper between them and
Okay.
use them as you go. So you can
Oh,
make them
that's
one day
easy.
and have them last for up to a week.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's great.
To get the recipe for Kristin's on-the-go crepes, head to our website at wagrown.com. It takes many people working hard to make sure we get only the best from the farm to our plate. That's it for this edition of Washington Grown. Thanks for joining us.